and welcome to this podcast that we do jointly with Celent. We're very happy to have here both Max and Garrett, who will share more on themselves later on. This is also done in collaboration with ITC Asia and Celent. So this is on the topic of the cultural transformation for the modern insurer, perspective from managing data initiatives in the organization. So I think before we start off, can we just also get some short introductions from both Max and Garrett first?
Yeah, so I'm Max. I'm based in Singapore. I'm from Celent. So Celent is actually a research and advisory firm that specializes in financial technology research. So in my area, I cover insurance for the APAC region as well. Yeah.
Okay. Hi. Thank you, Max. So my name is Garrett. I'm the enterprise architect for data and AI for Allianz. So Allianz is the world's global insurer, and we have just won the awards. This is the 5th year standing. And my role with Allianz as a data and AI enterprise architect is to work together with the chief data officers from around the Asia Pacific regions and to help them to steer their data programs that's aligned with the group's tools and capabilities. And then at the same time, I'm also helping them to build their data initiatives for the team and how to, customize these data and AI initiative that are fit for purpose within the Asia Pacific region. So basically, that's my role with Allianz.
Yeah, thank you, Garrett and Max, for sharing who you are. I think so. We'll start off also with kind of like setting the context. So I think Max, I want to ask you from your perspective, how do you define cultural transformation in the context of modern insurers, and what trends are you seeing globally in how insurers approach data initiatives?
Well, I think for cultural transformation, at least in my opinion, is the ability to influence shift behaviors and implement change or work towards a collective goal in the organization. Is to persuade to adopt new tools, technologies, and method of working, and with the aim of improving the insurance organization as well as their value chain of products and services. So it actually affects how insurers operate and how their products are distributed, underwritten, assessed, and claimed. And then I think cultural change do start from the people and at the organization level. So having a less than positive culture is one of the key barriers to effective change implementation. And the modern insurer, my view, is required to adapt to changing requirements and expectations from the policyholders and stakeholders in the business as well. And to do all this with a more rational and sound methodology that can be replicated, hopefully, to all aspects of the organization. And I think on your second question on the trends is that I do see across the year as well, data business strategy implementations and education to strengthen data literacy has been growing in importance and awareness among insurers. Most of the successful data initiatives that we've seen involve cross-functional teams of product owners, data and AI, and business management. So this also translates to benefits externally, whereby a sense of transparency and trust is fostered and reinforced among the insurers policyholder relationship. So we have seen such initiative from AIA, Cathay Life Income Insurance, and John Hancock as part of this year's Celent Model Insurer program in the data AI category. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Max, for sharing that. And also, so I want to ask Garrett as well, what triggered the need for cultural transformation to better support data initiatives? And could you share a recent example of a successful data-driven project and how culture played a role?
Sure. I think, Richard asked a very good question. So, in today's, the development of the AI capabilities has grown so rapidly and it has evolved so much that, the insurance companies who didn't, leverage on the advantage of using, for example, we have heard a lot about generative AI, chat GPTs, if they don't know how to, put these new capability into good use for the company, I think they'll be losing behind in terms of the pace and their business as well. So for Allianz, right, we actually see that this is a very good opportunity to actually leverage on the emerging development around data and AI, especially on generative AI, chat GPTs. So somehow, we have to change our mindset from, the value insurance change from the marketing distribution to the sales and the operational teams or the underwriters, right? They have to embrace this change to be more data centric and so how to use these for example, the generative AI tools to help them in their performing their functions. So for Allianz, right, we actually promote a data literacy culture for our employees, and we have this program that we launched whereby we want our employees to knows what are the latest and advances, the happenings around, how are the companies are using, let's say, for example, ChatGPT in terms of their operations call center, right? How does the operations call center can be enhanced in terms of their productivity by knowing what kind of the questions to ask ChatGPT, right? Whenever a customer calls to the call center, how is the customer operations center able to search for the right information, to be able to generate the kind of the right response to the customer at a faster turnaround time, to the customer's request. So that is really key to making the customers happy and to deliver that kind of the standard for customer service to our customers, right? So going back to the data literacy and culture training, we have this program that we just launched, and it is mandatory for all the employees. And under this program, right, we have 3 different kind of levels, from the bronze, silver to the gold. Gold, as you can imagine, is a more advanced kind of the training for data professionals like data scientists, data engineers. And for the bronze is an introductory level whereby we will train our employees on how to do prompt engineering, for example, how to ask the right questions to ChatGPT and how to set up the right context, right, for them to be able to retrieve the right content and answers. So that's one part done on our side in terms of this cultural change. Then on the other hand, we also have a few projects that we are experimenting, by using the more advanced AI capabilities, right? Like how do we enhance the underwriting function, with the dynamic pricing, tailored offers to different segments of the customers. Yeah, so we've been drawing a lot of this initiative, and it all has to start from a shift in the cultural thinking and the mindset, right? And I can tell you, for one of the successful cases, which is the second part of the question. So there is a project that we have done for, the underwriting, right? So for underwriting, because for Allianz, we have a different segments of customers. Not every customers have the same needs in terms of their insurance, right? When it comes to life and health insurance, or whether it's general insurance, right? All of them have their different demands and their needs. And how does the underwriters create different products that caters to these different demands of our customers? So therefore, dynamic underwriting, which involve looking into segmenting these customers into the right buckets on their lifestyle, their life stages, and how to actually determine the right product is the right product that should be pushed to the customers in terms of their life stages of the life events. And then, different customers might have different financial, status as well. So therefore, the dynamic pricing, underwriting for our underwriters to be able to price it at the right price for our customers.
Yeah, thank you so much, Garrett, for sharing that as well. And I want to also move away from the foundation part and onto the challenges. So for Max, what are the most common cultural barriers insurers face when implementing data initiatives? And how do these challenges differ between more established insurers and newer players in the market?
Thank you, Jared, for sharing your views. I totally agree on the data literacy and the use case that you share as well. But I think when you look at cultural barriers, what I see is that there is always the lack of synergy between teams, the lack of common understanding and communication. These are common barriers that's faced by most organizations and insurers as well. So most commonly, the separation of the technology and business teams also prevents organization cultural change. So because a cultural innovation does require a dedicated team comprising subject matter experts across IT, data science, and business function like claims and underwriting. And then they have to have a clear directive of the organization strategic approach to have a collaborative innovation culture as well. And if you ask how do these challenges differ between more established insurers and newer players, I think to give a more simplistic and maybe a generalized view is that one of the main differences would be the layers found in established insurers compared to newer players. So the layers meaning that, the amount of the organization structure within an organization, whereby a newer player will have more of a flat structure at the start. So established insurers, they must communicate, and educate and drive change as an influencing process, as highlighted by Garrett as well. So this means stakeholders must be convinced of the change and the benefits to derive from it. So for example, you may have a weekly working group that fosters communication among the stakeholders, or having an officer, educating the benefits of technology to create buy-in. In comparison, a newer player does operate on more of a greenfield, playing field, and so they can implement working solutions without the incumbent challenges that they face. So a newer player can design the blueprint, possibly from the ground up. While established insurers, they need to understand the earlier blueprints and then determine what is feasible for change. So those will be the kind of main differences between one that's established and one that is a newer player. Yeah.
Thank you,
Sure.
Max, for sharing that. And for Garrett as well, I wanted to ask, what were the biggest challenges you faced in promoting a data-centric culture at Allianz? And how did you align leadership and teams to embrace this transformation?
Sure. Thank you, Rachel, for the question. So as Max pointed out earlier, it's not easy to promote a kind of a data-centric culture, especially in insurance company, because insurance companies have their own challenges, right? So I would like to tackle this question by putting into the perspective from these four main buckets, right? In consulting, we usually says that to really implement a good data strategy, you need to align the people, the process, and the technology. But for data and AI, there's also the fourth dimension, which is the data itself. So I cover on the technology first. So for insurance company, right, especially in a traditional insurance company, or more of the brick and mortar insurance company, they quite often encounter into legacy systems and data silos. I'll touch on the legacy systems. So many insurance companies still holding on to their legacy systems, which are probably outdated. It's not that because they didn't want to change into the modernizing their system, but they have been using these systems since the start of the business, since the inception of the company, for 20, 30, or 50 years, right? So these systems, or this technology, are not designed to support modern data analytics, meaning because when these systems are designed, not all the data can be captured to support data initiative or the data analytics project. So therefore, one thing to consider about technology is to how do we move from moving out from having a legacy system into modernizing our systems, right? The core systems. Then next is on the data silos, which is on the data itself. So these systems usually, are implemented on the data silos on a country by country basis, right? So imagine for a global insurer, right? If let's say, you have a core system, let's say for one particular country, and the next country that when you start up the business, you might have a, country having another core systems. And quite often at times, like these systems between the countries, they don't talk to each other because they're actually operating the business within their own country region. So therefore, it added another kind of the complexity whereby the information is isolated, in siloed across a country level, and also across to in terms of the insurance, the value chain. What I mean here is that for the insurance, like a sales system, the policy administration system, or the sales system, or the agents, portal, or the agent system, right? Or even the underwriting and the claims core system. All these might be in silo, and these data are not connected, are not stringed together. So it makes it much more difficult to integrate across the organization. Then with this kind of a problem, there could be also data quality and inconsistencies across these different systems, right? Like as you can imagine, a customer information on the claim system might be different from the customer information on the the policy administration system, right? Or even the the sales system. Yeah, so that can create another challenges to promoting a data-centric culture for insurance companies. Then moving on to people, right? There could be cultural resistance. Like sometimes, when we talk about, how to use, let's say, for example, ChatGPT again, right? To, help the customer service operations to enhance their services. So there might be employees who are hesitant to use these tools because they are not sure whether the responses generated by these ChatGPT are correct, right? And they don't even know how to use that. So they therefore after which where they are hesitant, they will go back to their own traditional ways of working. So there might be a little bit of a skepticism about the value of these tools or data-driven approaches. So there might be also reluctance to use this. So that's on the the people side. Then I've also covered on the process side, right? A little bit on the processes whereby people usually will revert back to their own ways of traditional ways of doing their business, right? So that could be also a hurdle to the processes as well. Then there are also the data privacy and security considerations whereby how does the companies ensure that for any of their data centric or data initiative, right, the customer data are protected and this sensitive information are not being easily breached, right? There are robust data security measures in place to make sure that the data access to this information and for data analytics are quite secure. Yeah. Then another angle to look at this will be the compliance issues, right? Right now, I think we also have this what we call the responsible AI, right? So responsible AI is something that kicks in, and to ensure that we are not using our AI system for the sake of identifying who are the better segment of the customers, but we are also using and deploying this AI system responsibly, and it is inclusive. It's not leaving any of our customers out, right? That we are biased towards a certain segment of the customers. So the regulatory and the compliance that comes in, that we need to ensure we have a responsible AI system in place, is also another angle to consider when it comes to doing the data centric cultural change, right? Okay, so that's first part of the question. And the second part is how do we align the leadership and the teams, right, to embrace this kind of a transformation. So I think what works for us is that, the first is that we need to have a clear vision and strategy from the top, right, from the leadership. The leadership should articulate, right, where are we in terms of our data-centric transformation, and they should define and outline how it should, aligns with the company's overall goals and objective. So for Allianz, we have a 3 key mandate that we want to achieve, which is, our customer growth. The next one is we call the rapid productivity. How do we enhance the productivity of our operations? And then next, which is the technical excellence. How do we, make sure that our technical underwriting are in place and and it's robust enough, to not to sacrifice our the loss ratio or the charge-out rate, right? Yeah. So for this, the vision and the strategy, it should be communicated effectively across the organization to the teams. Then with the buy-in from the leadership, right, to the executive level, leaders should be the one who champion this transformation. Then, from the the executives and the working ground, they are the ones who are actually are implementing this solution. So they should demonstrate the commitment to this data-centric transformation by having a clear roadmap of how they should roll and implement this data initiative, which is already aligned with the the company's vision and strategy. Yeah. So I think these are the 2 key messages that I would like to all of you to take away, yeah, for data-centric transformation.
Yeah, thank you, Garrett, for sharing in terms of, how there's a lot of hesitation, right? In terms of moving away from legacy systems, which kind of worked since inception of the insurers, as well as implementation based on the vision that they have for the roadmap for the long-term strategies. So now, moving away from challenges, I want to then set us up for success. So what are some strategies that we have? So for Max, based on your research and consulting work, what strategies have been most effective for fostering cultural change in insurers? And how can technology play a role in bridging the gap between traditional insurance practices and modern data capabilities?
Yeah, so I mean, I agree with that. Leadership really plays a very key role in driving organization-wide cultural change. So with them having like a plan of what they want to do, and then they roll it out to the organization. There are some methodologies that can be put in place to ensure that the strategy is being implemented well. So things like adopting agile methodology you can help in iterative change and knowledge sharing among the team members themselves, and so they will know in each week there's what are they working on, what can they improve on, and what can they learn from the other team members as well. So this is one methodology to be implemented that can be used as well. And then cross-functional teams, they do create collaborative synergy for successful innovation development. So back to the point of the methodology that's being applied for having regular team meetings, this is another way to share that knowledge. And then appropriate change management strategies does ensure smooth transition and adoption of reusable technology assets, because what usually happens when you want to implement change is that you want it to be organization-wide as well. So you are aiming to create assets, digital assets that are reusable, so that it can be rolled out throughout the organization. So what we have seen is that you may start off with possibly one insurance product that you want to change, and then you get the teams together, and then they'll form the best practices and the best center of excellence. And then from there will be reusable or replicated assets that can be pushed out to the organization. And that's a way to actually promote the change within the organization as well. And so this change does support a culture of continuous improvements, learnings, including feedback loops with stakeholders, and to have a diligent monitoring of technologies and models being used. And this also kind of alludes to the question of how can technology play a role. So although technology is only a tool to enable change and to bridge the gap between the insurance practice and data capabilities, the people and leaders are the force driving the initiative and the force to bring people together to embrace change. So as much as we have all the tools and ideas to make some of the initiative, to be able to realize them, we do have to really look at the people themselves within and the culture, and how is it set up for success in the end, because these are actually the key drivers rather than technology being like the front end mechanism. Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. Thanks, Max, for sharing that. I think it is important, for teams to come together to really discuss how they can best work together, what sort of practices they can implement as well. And also, thanks for sharing that. And now I want to ask also, Garrett, from your experience, what specific actions have worked well at Allianz to drive a culture of innovation and data-driven decision making? And how do you ensure long-term sustainability of this cultural shift?
Cool. Thanks, Richard. So, I really like earlier on Max, which he talked about, scalability, right? Because we see that scalability is also another, issue with the company at and the enterprise wide, right? So we want to actually reuse our AI initiative. So how do we, alleviate the situation of having the teams in the different countries developing their own inside siloed development, is that we really want to look at the culture, right? So look at how do we actually foster a culture of collaboration across the data teams, right? Collaboration meaning that when they, exchange ideas, they will, exchange ideas, and, for example, Thailand will say that, if I want to build a persistency or, the propensity model, then when they have the kind of a collaboration, joint collaboration with Indonesia, then Indonesia will say, okay, maybe let's look at different things. Let's look at underwriting. While we collaborate to share the knowledge across between the data teams, so that they know what's ongoing development for across the different country. So when they again come to this development, when I put all these data initiative together, they are very complete, right? It's not like every country have their own model, have their own persistency or the propensity modeling. There's a different versions across the country. So how do we sustain this kind of the development? I think over here in Allianz, we actually organize this into what we call the collaboration or working approach, right? So it starts off with 3 levels. From the top level, which I covered earlier, leadership is really important to drive, to set the clear vision and the strategy, right? Which area should the team focus their time on developing AI initiative? Like, earlier I also covered there are 3 key dimensions, right? Which is the growth, customer growth, the rapid productivity, and the technical excellence. And with the, the top level, with the consisting of the board members, right, and the CEOs of our countries, we'll see in this community that will meet every quarter to identify all the analytics use cases that are being presented by the CDOs of the countries, and to see which one of those should be prioritized. And if it aligns, with their key dimensions of their, the strategic, company vision, then that'll be great, because that'll be something that is aligned, right, with a customer growth or even rapid productivity. Then at the next level, we have our what we call the AI Design Authority community, whereby this is the community that consists of the regional business leads, from underwriting function to the customer growth function to the the operational side. So there are these regional business leads who will meet together with our chief data officers, CDOs from the different countries. Will meet on the monthly cadence basis, right, to discuss what are the the AI developments or the initiative that can help them to improve their respective business, right? So on a monthly basis, they'll have these discussions, and every third month, which is when it comes to the quarter of the year, then they will identify the top 2 or 3 priorities that they want to present to the board, which is the top management. So once the top management seen and approve this, prioritized AI initiative, then our implementation team, which is the third one on the bottom, right, the implementation team, which will consist of the implementation team from our leading OE. Leading OE means our lead operating entity. Let's say, for example, if we identify that the renewal retention model for our general insurance is of key, that that we want to do this, right? We'll identify first who is the leading operating entity, for example, Thailand, for the Thailand business, right? If they are the one who will be the first beneficiary of this initiative, right, then they'll be the one who contribute the headcount to develop this AI initiative, together with a few headcount, let's say like 20 or 30% of the headcount from other countries, right? To make sure that they learn the knowledge and the idea that implementation team will be doing this, developing this AI initiative. So the implementation team, once they build this project for the first leading OE, like for example, Thailand, then when it comes to the scaling part, then they will bring this idea to scale it to Indonesia, which is our next operating entity. So in this manner, right, with this, our collaboration approach and our development methodology, it ensures that we have, the teams that are working closely and working on different AI initiatives. They are non-duplicative, first of all, and next is that they will be aligned with the overall company vision and strategy. So this is the way how we work, and keep it sustainable.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, Garrett, in terms of how it comes directly, firstly, from the leadership team in the meetings, and then it really does disseminate from there. And so thank you so much for, Max and Garrett, for sharing. And I want to also see, looking ahead into the future, either, if both of you want to answer, what do you see as the new frontier for insurers in terms of cultural transformation and data initiatives? What advice would you give to insurers just starting on this journey? If either one wants to come in, or both as well.
Well, I think probably I can give a more generalized, answer, is that I think the frontier is actually the continuation of what we have been discussing as well, what we have seen. Embracing change, having a culture of continuous improvements, alongside knowledge sharing, does enable transformation, then which leads to initiative utilizing data, and so on. So we also hope to see more insurers blending business, technology, and data into a cohesive unit and as part of the overall company strategy. And they also can include the the CFOs in the companies as well, and also the continuous support by the CEO and their leadership team. So I think roles will start to blend, because if you are looking, for example, you are the CFO, you have to understand technology as well to see what the CDO want to invest in. So this sort of change we will start to see more in future. And I think in terms of advice, I do agree with what Gareth has been saying as well. Really, we have to break the barriers and silos and ensure a common understanding or standard operating model procedure that's resonates throughout the whole organization. And it's really very much possible with the leadership and the positive team culture that's being fostered, daily as part of the organization roadmap and strategy. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks, Max. Yeah. So I would like to also further add on, right? I think obviously, Max, you have seen, a lot of opportunities of the case studies across the insurance industry as a whole, right? So from my view is that, for, driving, meaningful data and AI initiative has to start from the business problem, the business statement itself, right? Because, while we might have seen other insurance company who has, developed the most fanciful ChatGPT, applications, or even the most fanciful, Gen AI applications, right? But it has to align with, what we want to do for our business, right? Where are the opportunities or the challenges or areas that needs to improve? Along again, so thinking along the insurance value chain, right? How can we do better in terms of, customer growth, marketing, pre-sales or post-sales, or how do we empower our the agencies and the distributors, right, or the agents, right, to sell better, right? Or from the another side of the insurance value chain, which is the underwriting, how do we enhance our underwriters to create more unique products or customized products, right, to cover the differing segments, or the different needs of our customers? Or was it due to the customer operations, right, like the call center, right? How do we able to support our customers' inquiries at a faster pace? How do we attend to their their challenges or their problems that they may have, right? So again, it depends on the business problem statements that they want to address at every stages of their cycles, right? And then from the problem statement, then we will look into what are the data and AI initiatives that can help to improve or resolve these challenges. As I always believe that for Allianz, right, when we present an AI initiative or the use cases, we don't ask the data team to present the AI initiative or use case. In fact, we turn the table around. We ask the business people to actually present the idea to the board, right? Because they are the one who needs to buy into the vision of having this project that will help them significantly in impacting their business, right? And they seize the KPIs, the numbers that will improve if they have this initiative. So they'll be the one who present to the board instead, and they are the buyers of this data AI initiative. Then once that is approved, the next stage will be just implementing and delivering this data AI capability. Because I believe that in this rapidly evolving field of data and AI, we are not lacking of the solutions. Right, we have very advanced and very coolest solutions that are being developed by the data scientists or the developers. But then it is the business problem that it needs to have a match to. So that would be my key takeaways.
Yeah, thank you so much, Max and Garrett, for sharing that. I think, Max, what you shared, the knowledge sharing, I think that's so important, right? And also, Garrett, to share in terms of what Allianz does as well for the teams of who shares what, right? Whether it be data or not. And I want to ask Garrett as well, where do you foresee Allianz culture evolving in the next 5 to 10 years to meet future challenges?
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting question, Rachel. So yeah, to see, okay, I'll start off with my vision, right? Is that I hope to see that every employees of Allianz, right, at least know how to use data and AI and apply them in their daily work. Let's say, for example, if I'm an underwriter, I would want to see the underwriter who knows how to use not just the traditional Excel, but how to spin up write the basic code, right, to analyze what should be the right pricing that should be priced for this particular kind of product or the different kind of customer segments. And if I'm a customer operations center, I should be able to be very adept to using ChatGPT, like prompt engineering, by entering my questions into the interface and getting the right answers. Yeah. So I think I want to see that kind of a data culture, in Allianz, right, where everyone is interested about using this data AI initiative in a more creative way, right? So probably more hackathons, within the organization, whereby these hackathons can be realized or materialized into real AI and data initiative projects and can be implemented, right? So that could be something that I want to see, in the next 5 years. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds to me as though Allianz is building a culture in which it's not just one individual that has one specific role to have one specific skill, but really to ensure that they have kind of like a comprehensive or holistic overview in terms of how they can kind of participate or also to help out with the company's organization as well. And so moving on to Max, I want to ask, what role do you think global partnerships and industry collaboration will play in accelerating cultural and technological advancements?
I think the role is always been quite a big role that they will play. If you work towards the integrated ecosystem concept of how a modern insurer should be, they definitely do have a very big role. So regarding technology advancements, I would think that knowledge transfer and adoption of the best of breed components from the right teams or partners will accelerate the change. But then again, technology only supports the people and their initiative, and like what Garrett has said, what are we trying to solve in the business? And so most importantly, we need to foster a culture whereby collaboration is supported both internally and externally, including the partners. So through shared wisdom and knowledge, we can then advance the industry understanding of challenges and then solve it for the benefit of all. It may be quite a tough call, but then I think this is what is needed to push innovation forward and to get more acceptance into how things can be in future. So you can think about how Volvo does open up the pattern of the 3-point seat belt. If they did not open up that pattern itself, we won't have this seat belt that's found in every car today for the sake of safety. So taking this idea, if you apply to the insurance industry, it's kind of similar in that you want to have something that can be used by all for the benefit of all. And then you can still have your own unique kind of offering within that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Max, in terms of how we definitely would want all of this kind of like conceptual ideas to come to fruition, to become maybe an industry standard across the board in our insurance ecosystem. But of course, each insurer can have their own unique flavor when it comes to the type of offerings, products, and services that they want to provide to the consumers. Yeah, so thank you so much to both Max and Garrett. I'm Rachel from ITC Asia. I truly do hope that people will listen to this podcast throughout because there's so much information, valuable experience as well that has been shared during this podcast that I truly think that people, individuals will be able to take away so much. And maybe if they can implement even 1 to 2 things into their workplace or into the culture of building teams, it'll definitely foster a better innovation hub for insurance. Thank you so much.